One Art by Elizabeth Bishop. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost that the loss is no disaster. Lose something every day. Accept the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice losing farther, losing faster, places and names, and where it was you meant to travel. None of these will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch, and look, my last or next to last of 3 loved houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and vaster, some realms I owned, 2 rivers, a continent. I miss them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love, I shan't have lied. It's evident. The art of losing is not too hard to master, though it may look like, write it, like disaster. Well, as you can imagine, I've heard this poem a bunch of times. So it's like, I feel like it's already imprinted in me somehow, and it's hard to just pick one thing. But I think I know which line I will pick now, because strangely enough, this was the one that I borrowed for my own poem recently. So many things seemed filled with the intent, and then third, to be lost, that the loss is no disaster. And I really like this image of being filled with the intent. And I think it's nice because when you think about something you lose, you don't know that you're gonna lose it until you've lost it. But there's this thing of like potential of losing, which is always there. Anything you have, you can lose, but you won't know. So it's filled with the intent to be lost. And I like that. I suppose it's relevant to mention that I had the idea of this project about 4.5 years ago, I think, for the first time. And I don't know why this poem resonated so much with me. I think maybe because I've been thinking about loss a lot in my life, but I think everybody does. So I guess I just really like the music of the poem as well. The musicality is repetitive because you keep saying the art of losing isn't hard to master, and it's kind of like refrain to yourself, like convincing yourself in a way that this is not a disaster, this is okay, but also admitting that it kind of is. And I find this duality of the meaning very, very, very appropriate. Of course, the cities is a relevant line for me too, because I've lost the city where I grew up, and I still love it, but it's never gonna be home, and I've accepted it a long time ago. But it's very strange being there, because you feel that loss with every step you take when you walk around, and it's not necessarily painful though, and this is what I like sometimes, that loss can be just beautiful, and it can be just something you see, notice, and kind of accept. And I've had a couple of things that I brought today that I thought were relevant for my experience with loss, and one of them is this ring, which I actually wrote a poem myself recently about. And this is a very important thing for me, because this belonged to my mom, who I don't really remember much, because she passed away when I was about 4. And I only got this ring a few years ago when my dad gave it to me, and it had 2 stones. The one of them fell off one day, and I couldn't find it, and it just got lost. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer, I'm gonna get another one later on. And then I never did. It's been a few years, and I didn't even wear it for a few years as well. And recently I found it again, and I was like, I think I wanna wear it anyway. And I kind of like this metaphor that it stands for me, that it creates, because it's very hard to process big losses, like a loss of somebody you love, even if you don't really remember them, because the feeling was there. So for me, it was kind of like, well, this reminds me of her, even though I didn't ever see her wear it or remember it. So it's just something that belonged to her, that she liked, that stands for something connected to her. And it's nice feeling to wear it, you know, for that reason. But also, like, she's lost, and it's part of my identity as well that I have to live with, that is not ever going to be there. So having no stone there is actually, it's quite nice, because it's kind of like, well, I'm accepting the fact that some of important things that matter to me are lost. Somebody I loved is lost, but then they're still with me, and this is what the actual stone represents then, because there's one there. And there's another thing I wanted to talk about, and this is this little candle. I actually made it, which is quite an achievement, because I'm not very good with making things like that. It's quite amusing, because you just mix colors and everything and wax, and it's just like kind of blends together. And I like it, even though I made it 3 years ago, and this was probably the hardest time of my life, to be fair. It was an art therapy kind of thing that was in the hospital where I stayed for a couple of months, and this kind of little thing just meant it just really means a lot, because first of all, I made it, so it's kind of like my little achievement of dealing with something that was bigger than me. And also it's colorful. I love colors, sedmi kraski and all that. So I like to think of it as a reminder of, after you lose everything, which is what happened to me, you can gain it through just working, through just creating. Yeah, more like creating than working. It's like, this is a little bit piece of art, even though it's not complicated at all. And this is why this poem means so much to me, I guess, because I feel like through art, through writing, through creating something, we can really cure ourselves of this pain that we gain through loss. Which is why I also like the physicality that Elizabeth Bishop talks about. I like when things become metaphors, and then that's when they gain meaning or lose meaning, because you just, this is just a piece of wax in different colors, but it's just something else for me.
What do you hope to achieve with this project when it's complete? What's the purpose of this for you?
Well, I don't think I have a specific purpose, because for me this is more, it's one of these things that's more about the journey than the destination. I really enjoy talking to people about these things, and I feel like it creates some sort of community in a way, because everybody can relate to this, but most people involved in this project tend to be people who are interested in poetry or some sort of art, so it's kind of like bringing a little bit of this artistic community together and talking about things that matter for all of us. I guess it could be one of the purposes. But also I think it's a therapy process for myself in a way, even maybe not consciously, but subconsciously. This is that creative kind of thing that pushes me forward